I returned home after a 12-hour shift at my tech consulting firm to find my mother sitting at the kitchen table with my open bank statement spread before her. Her eyes were wide, hands trembling slightly as she stared at the balance. $567,000. She looked up at me with a mixture of shock and something else I could not quite identify. Before I could ask why she opened my mail, she spoke the words that would shatter my world forever. "Reid, honey, we need to talk about this money," Patricia said, her voice carrying an odd tone I had never heard before. She gestured toward the bank statement like it was some kind of treasure map she had discovered. I set down my laptop bag and loosened my tie, exhaustion weighing heavy on my shoulders. "Mom, that's my private mail. You shouldn't have opened it." She waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, don't be silly. I was just organizing the counter and it fell open." The lie came so easily that I wondered how many times she had practiced it. "But Reid, this is incredible. $567,000. Do you realize what this could mean for our family?" The word "our" sent a chill down my spine. I had worked brutal hours for 5 years building my consulting business from absolutely nothing. Weekends became memories, vacations turned into myths, and social relationships crumbled under the weight of my ambition. Every dollar in that account represented sacrifice, determination, and countless nights when I chose work over sleep. "It means I've been successful with my business," I said carefully, watching her expression shift. "Well, of course it does, sweetheart. And I'm so proud of you." Her smile felt calculated now. "But you know, Danny just graduated college, and he's having such a hard time finding his direction. This could really help him get started in life." My younger brother Danny burst through the front door at that exact moment, almost like he had been waiting outside for his cue. At 22, he had coasted through college on my mother's constant support, while I had worked 2 jobs to pay for my own education. His carefree attitude toward responsibility had always frustrated me, but Patricia treated him like he could do no wrong. "Reid, Mom told me the great news." Danny's grin was so wide it looked painful. "I can't believe my big brother is loaded." The casual way he said, "My big brother is loaded," made my stomach turn. There was ownership in those words, like my success somehow belonged to him too. Patricia pulled out a stack of printed papers from beneath the bank statement. Real estate listings. My heart sank as I realized she had been planning this conversation long before I walked through the door. "I've been looking at some lovely houses for Danny," she said, spreading the listings across the table like a dealer arranging cards. "Nothing too extravagant, just something to get him started. This one here is only $250,000. It has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a nice yard." "Mom, I can't just buy Danny a house," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Danny's expression darkened instantly. "Why not? It's not like you need all that money. What are you going to do with it? Hoard it like some dragon?" "I earned this money through years of hard work," I explained, feeling defensive in my own home. "I've been building my business, investing wisely, living below my means. This represents my financial security." Patricia's face transformed into the wounded expression she had perfected during my childhood. "Reid, I'm disappointed in you. I raised you to care about family. All those years I sacrificed for you boys, working double shifts at the department store, going without so you could have what you needed. You did sacrifice, and I'm grateful," I said. "But that doesn't mean I owe Danny a house." "Actually," Danny said with a smirk that made my skin crawl, "I already put in an offer on that blue colonial on Maple Street. The one for $230,000. I told them my brother would handle the financing." The room went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I stared at Danny, unable to process what he had just said. "You did what?" "The real estate agent needed to know I had financial backing," he said with a shrug. "So I mentioned my successful brother. No big deal." "It is a very big deal," I exploded. "You can't make offers on houses using my money without my permission." Patricia stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "Lower your voice, Reid. The neighbors will hear you yelling at your family." "I'm not yelling at my family. I'm trying to understand why my family thinks they can spend my money without asking me first." Danny crossed his arms. "Because we're family, Reid. Family helps family. Or did making all that money turn you into someone who doesn't care about the people who love him? The guilt trip was expertly delivered, and for a moment, I almost fell for it. But then I remembered the 70-hour weeks, the missed holidays spent working on client projects, the social isolation that came with building something from nothing. This money represented more than just numbers on a statement. It represented my future, my security, my independence. I care about my family, I said firmly. But I won't be manipulated into making financial decisions based on guilt. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. I can't believe my own son would call his mother manipulative. After everything I've done for you. I'm not calling you manipulative, Mom. I'm saying that expecting me to buy Danny a house without discussing it with me first is unreasonable. Unreasonable? Danny laughed bitterly. What's unreasonable is having a brother who has more money than he knows what to do with, but won't help his own family. I looked around the kitchen where I had grown up, at the worn linoleum floors and the cabinets that hadn't been updated since the 1980s. Patricia had struggled financially my entire life, often working 2 jobs to make ends meet. I understood why the idea of having access to substantial money would be appealing to her, but the assumption that it should automatically become family money troubled me deeply. I need time to think about this, I said finally. Think about what? Danny demanded. Whether you love your family or not. Think about how to handle this situation appropriately, I replied, picking up my laptop bag. I'm going upstairs. As I climbed the stairs to my childhood bedroom, which I still used when visiting, I heard Patricia and Danny talking in hushed but urgent tones. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone suggested this conversation was far from over. The bank statement remained spread across the kitchen table like evidence of some crime I hadn't realized I had committed. Lying on my narrow twin bed, staring at the ceiling I had memorized during countless sleepless nights as a teenager, I wondered how discovering my financial success had suddenly made me feel like the villain in my own family story. The next morning brought an unwelcome surprise. My phone rang at 7:30, displaying my Aunt Susan's number. Patricia's older sister had never called me this early unless someone had died. Reid, sweetheart. Your mother told me the wonderful news about your business success. Susan's voice carried that fake sweetness she used when she wanted something. I'm so proud of you, honey. I rubbed my eyes, still groggy from a restless night. Thanks, Aunt Susan. Listen, I was hoping we could chat about something. Jake is getting married next month, and we're having some challenges with the wedding budget. Your cousin has been planning this day for 2 years, and it would be such a shame if financial constraints ruined it for him. Jake was Susan's 25-year-old son who had never held a steady job but somehow always had money for expensive hobbies. The idea that his wedding budget problems had become my responsibility overnight was staggering. I'm sorry to hear about the budget issues, I said carefully, but I'm not sure how I can help. Well, your mother mentioned that you're in a position to help family members in need. It wouldn't be much, just $20,000 to cover the venue deposit and catering upgrades. Jake's fiancée has her heart set on the country club reception. $20,000. She said it like it was pocket change. I ended the call politely but felt sick to my stomach. Patricia had spent less than 12 hours turning my private financial information into family gossip. An hour later, Uncle Mark knocked on our front door. Patricia's brother-in-law had always intimidated me with his gruff manner and imposing presence. He worked construction and had hands like baseball mitts from decades of manual labor. Reid, good to see you, son, Mark said, settling his bulk onto our living room couch. Your mom tells me you've done real well for yourself. I've been fortunate, I replied, wondering how many more family members would appear today. That's the thing about fortune, though. It's meant to be shared. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Your mom's been struggling for years, working those retail jobs that barely pay the bills. And Danny, that boy needs guidance, needs someone to believe in him enough to give him a real start in life. Mark's words carried an undercurrent of threat that made my shoulders tense. He wasn't asking for help. He was delivering a message about family obligations and the consequences of not meeting them. I appreciate everyone's concern, I said, but my financial decisions need to be mine to make. Of course they do, Mark nodded. But sometimes we need reminders about what's really important. Money comes and goes, Reid, but family is forever. After Mark left, I discovered Patricia had been busy. Mrs. Henderson from next door stopped me while I was checking the mail. "Reid, dear, your mother mentioned you've become quite successful," the elderly woman beamed. "She's so proud of you. And what a blessing that you can help your brother get established in his own home." My face burned with embarrassment. The entire neighborhood apparently knew about my bank balance and Danny's house hunting expedition. Patricia had turned my private financial information into public knowledge, creating a narrative where I was the wealthy son helping his struggling family. That evening, Danny arrived home with an attitude that had shifted from yesterday's playful entitlement to something much darker. "I quit my job at the grocery store today," he announced, dropping onto the couch with theatrical exhaustion. "Why would you do that?" I asked, though I feared I already knew the answer. "Because I'm getting a house next month. Why would I keep bagging groceries for minimum wage when I'm about to be set up for life?" The casual arrogance in his voice made my hands clench into fists. "Danny, I never agreed to buy you a house." "You don't need to agree," he said with a shrug. "Mom explained the family situation to me. We all sacrifice for each other. You sacrifice some money, I get a fresh start, and everyone wins." "What if I say no?" Danny's expression turned cold. "Then you're not the brother I thought you were." Patricia appeared from the kitchen, having clearly been listening to our conversation. "Boys, please don't fight. Reid, I know this is a big adjustment, but think about how good it will feel to help your brother achieve his dreams." "What about my dreams?" I asked. "Honey, you've already achieved your dreams. You have more money than most people see in a lifetime. Now it's Danny's turn to have his chance." That night, I couldn't sleep. The assumption that my success belonged to everyone except me was suffocating. Every family member who contacted me today had made it clear that refusing their requests would result in being labeled selfish, ungrateful, or worse. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text message from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Greg Thompson from Pinnacle Financial Services. Your mother Patricia asked me to reach out regarding investment strategies for your portfolio. I have some time tomorrow afternoon if you'd like to discuss options." My blood turned to ice. Patricia had given my contact information to a financial advisor without my permission. I immediately called the number back, but it went straight to voicemail. The message confirmed my worst fears. Greg Thompson had already been briefed on my financial situation and was prepared to discuss family portfolio management strategies. I spent the rest of the night staring at my phone, wondering what other arrangements Patricia had made on my behalf. The woman who had raised me, who had sacrificed so much during my childhood, was systematically dismantling my privacy and autonomy. The money I had worked so hard to earn was being treated like community property, and anyone who questioned that arrangement was being painted as selfish. By dawn, I realized this was bigger than just Danny wanting a house or Susan needing wedding money. My family had collectively decided that my success belonged to all of them, and they were building a network of pressure and manipulation to ensure I complied with their expectations. The worst part was that deep down, some part of me understood their perspective. Patricia had struggled financially my entire life. Danny had never had the opportunities I had created for myself. The extended family had always been close, always helped each other through difficult times. But understanding their perspective didn't make their methods acceptable, and it certainly didn't make their assumptions about my money reasonable. As I got dressed for another day of dealing with family expectations I had never agreed to meet, I wondered how having money had somehow made me the bad guy in my own life story. 3 days later, I discovered the true scope of what I was dealing with. While Patricia was at work and Danny was out looking at furniture for his new place, I found myself alone in the house for the first time since the bank statement incident. I needed to use Patricia's computer to print some client contracts, and that's when I found the folder labeled Family Financial Planning. My heart sank as I opened it and discovered dozens of documents that revealed the depth of their scheming. Spreadsheets. Detailed, color-coded spreadsheets showing how my $567,000 should be distributed. Danny's house fund, $250,000. Patricia's debt consolidation and new car, $85,000. Extended family gifts and loans, $75,000. Emergency family fund, $50,000. The remaining amount was labeled Reid's personal allowance. Personal allowance. They had given me an allowance from my own money, but the spreadsheets were just the beginning. I found printed emails between Patricia and Danny dating back 3 months, long before she had accidentally opened my bank statement. They had been tracking my business success through social media posts, client testimonials on my website, and conversations with mutual acquaintances. One email from Danny to Patricia read, "Mom, I think Reid's making serious money. His LinkedIn shows he just landed 3 new corporate clients, and Sarah from high school said her company hired him for a major project. We should start planning how to approach this." Patricia's response, "I've been thinking the same thing. We need to be smart about this. Reid has always been independent, but family obligations run deep. If we present this correctly, as helping each other the way families should, he'll come around." My hands shook as I continued reading. They had researched my business registration, looked up my client list, and even calculated estimated earnings based on industry standards. This wasn't spontaneous family neediness. This was a calculated campaign. I found notes about my psychological profile. Patricia had written, "Reid responds well to guilt about family sacrifice. Danny should emphasize brotherhood and shared history. Avoid appearing greedy. Focus on fairness and family loyalty." The most disturbing document was titled Conversation Strategies. It outlined different approaches for different family members. Aunt Susan was supposed to emphasize tradition and helping younger generation. Uncle Mark was assigned to discuss obligation and respect. Even neighbors were given talking points about community values and family support. My phone rang, startling me. The caller ID showed Greg Thompson, the financial advisor. "Reid, I hope you don't mind me calling. Your mother gave me your number, and I wanted to follow up on our appointment tomorrow." "I didn't make an appointment with you," I said coldly. "Oh." There was a pause. "Well, Patricia seemed quite certain you'd be interested in discussing portfolio management. She mentioned there were some family investment goals you wanted to explore." "What kind of goals?" "Real estate acquisition for your brother, debt consolidation for your mother, and establishing education funds for extended family. Standard family wealth distribution strategies." The casual way he discussed redistributing my money made my vision blur with anger. "Mr. Thompson, I need to be very clear. I did not authorize my mother to discuss my finances with you or anyone else." "I see. Well, perhaps there's been some miscommunication. Patricia seemed quite knowledgeable about your financial situation and expressed specific ideas about investment directions." After ending the call, I continued exploring Patricia's computer files. I found browser history showing extensive research into legal ways family members could claim portions of adult children's assets. She had been reading articles about financial elder abuse, but from the perspective of families who felt entitled to their successful children's money. The most shocking discovery was a series of emails with someone named Robert. The name seemed familiar, but I couldn't place it until I read deeper into the conversation. "Patricia, I think it's time I reconnected with the boys, especially Reid. If he's doing as well as you say, maybe we could work together on some investment opportunities." Robert. My father. The man who had abandoned us when I was 12 and Danny was 7. Patricia had been in contact with him, and he wanted back into our lives now that money was involved. Patricia's response, "Robert, Reid doesn't know we've been in touch. I think we should keep it that way for now. He's still angry about you leaving, and bringing you into this situation might complicate things. Let me handle Reid first. Then we can discuss how you fit into the family financial picture." I felt nauseous. My mother had been secretly communicating with the father who had destroyed our family, and they were planning how to jointly benefit from my success. Another email from Robert. "I've been doing some research on Reid's business. Tech consulting is lucrative, but it's also risky. Maybe I could offer some guidance on diversifying his portfolio. I have experience with investments that could help the whole family build long-term wealth." My father hadn't been in contact with me in over 15 years, but he had apparently become an expert on my business and was planning to offer financial advice. The audacity was breathtaking. I found evidence that Patricia had been providing Robert with regular updates about my life, my business growth, my income progression, and even my personal relationships. He knew details about my life that I had never shared with him because I thought he was completely out of the picture. The final document in the folder was a timeline titled Implementation Strategy. It showed the bank statement discovery was scheduled for last week. Patricia had been waiting for the right moment to find the statement and initiate the conversation. Everything that had happened, from Danny's house hunting, to the family phone calls, to the financial advisor contact, had been orchestrated. As I sat in Patricia's kitchen, surrounded by evidence of their deception, I realized I wasn't dealing with spontaneous family greed. I was dealing with a coordinated campaign designed to separate me from my money, using emotional manipulation, guilt, and psychological pressure. The people I loved most in the world had turned my success into their opportunity. They had studied me like a mark, planned their approach like a con game, and executed their strategy with ruthless efficiency. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated my intelligence and my commitment to protecting what I had worked so hard to build. The same determination that had driven me to build a successful business would now be focused on protecting myself from the people who claimed to love me. I carefully photographed every document, every email, every piece of evidence. If they wanted to play games with my financial security, I would make sure I had all the information I needed to win. The war for my independence was about to begin. The following week brought consequences I hadn't anticipated. My business, which had been thriving, suddenly faced unexpected turbulence that seemed suspiciously connected to my family situation. Marcus Williams from Consolidated Industries called to cancel a major contract I had been working on for 3 months. Reid, I'm sorry, but we've received some information that concerns us about your reliability and focus, Marcus said, his voice uncomfortable. We've decided to go with a different consultant. My stomach dropped. What kind of information? Well, someone reached out to express concerns about your ability to maintain professional boundaries. They suggested you might be dealing with personal financial pressures that could affect your judgment. Someone had contacted my client with concerns about my professional capabilities. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental. Marcus, can you tell me who provided this information? I'm sorry, but I can't share that. It was presented as a confidential concern from someone who knows you personally. After losing the Consolidated Industries contract, worth $45,000, I received similar calls from 2 other clients. All mentioned concerns about my reliability. All referenced information from someone who claimed to know me personally. The pattern was obvious. That evening, Patricia was unusually quiet during dinner. Danny kept glancing at his phone and smirking, which made my skin crawl. Reid, honey, you seem stressed, Patricia said with false concern. Is everything all right with work? Actually, I've lost 3 major contracts this week, all because someone contacted my clients with concerns about my reliability. Patricia's expression remained neutral, but I caught a flicker of something in her eyes. Oh my, that's terrible. Do you have any idea who would do such a thing? I have some theories, I replied, watching her carefully. Danny looked up from his phone. Maybe it's karma, bro. You know, for being selfish with family. The casual cruelty in his voice was like a physical blow. My own brother was suggesting I deserved professional sabotage because I wouldn't buy him a house. Danny, do you understand that my business income is how I support myself? If my business fails, I can't help anyone. Maybe that's the point, he said with a shrug. Maybe you need to learn what it's like to depend on family instead of thinking you're better than everyone. Patricia didn't correct him. Her silence was louder than any words. That weekend, my phone rang with a call that would change everything. Carol Martinez, a real estate agent I'd never met, sounded frustrated and confused. Mr. Reid Thompson? I need to speak with you about the property on Maple Street. Your brother Danny said you'd be handling the financing, but the closing is scheduled for next Friday, and we haven't received any payment documentation. My vision blurred. Excuse me, did you say closing? Yes. The closing for the house your brother is purchasing. The Colonial, for $230,000. We've been waiting for your financing confirmation. Danny had progressed from making an offer to scheduling a closing, all while using my name as his financial backing. The real estate agent was expecting me to appear next Friday with a check for $230,000. Miss Martinez, I need you to understand something very clearly. I am not financing my brother's house purchase. I have never agreed to this arrangement. There was a long pause. But he's been telling us for weeks that his brother was handling the payment. We have contracts signed based on that representation. After ending the call with Carol Martinez, I confronted Patricia and Danny immediately. Danny is scheduled to close on a house next Friday, and they expect me to pay for it, I said, my voice shaking with anger. Patricia looked genuinely surprised for the first time since this started. Oh my. That does seem rushed. Rushed? I exploded. It's fraud. He's using my name to secure financing for a house I never agreed to buy. Danny stood up, his face flushed with anger. Fine, Reid. You want to play hardball? Let's play hardball. What does that mean? It means I've been keeping quiet about some things. But maybe it's time people knew the real Reid Thompson. Maybe your clients should know about the family you abandoned. Maybe they should know you won't even help your own mother with her debts. The threat was clear. If I didn't pay for his house, he would escalate his campaign to destroy my professional reputation. Danny, you can't be serious. I'm dead serious. You think you can just hoard money while your family struggles? You think there won't be consequences? Patricia finally spoke. Boys, please calm down. Maybe we can work something out. Actually, Mom, there's something else you should know, Danny said, his eyes glittering with malice. Reid's girlfriend Sarah broke up with him last month because she said he was emotionally unavailable and obsessed with money. Maybe that's the kind of person success turns you into, Reid. Maybe that's who you really are. Sarah had indeed ended our relationship, citing my work obsession and emotional distance. But hearing Danny weaponize that personal pain was devastating. He was using my private struggles to justify his financial demands. How do you know about Sarah? I asked. Because I pay attention to my brother's life. Unlike some people who only care about themselves. Patricia stood up from the table, her expression serious for the first time in days. Reid, I need to tell you something. We have a problem. My heart sank as I waited for whatever new disaster she was about to reveal. I've been struggling with some debts that you don't know about. Credit card debts that got out of control when I was trying to help support this family. I used Danny's house purchase as collateral for some loans, believing you would help us when the time came. What kind of loans? Private loans. From people who don't like to wait for their money. Her voice was barely a whisper. If Danny doesn't get his house down payment, and I can't consolidate my debts, we could lose our family home to foreclosure. The kitchen felt like it was spinning. Patricia had gambled our childhood home on the assumption that I would pay Danny's expenses. She had taken loans from dangerous people, using money she didn't have as collateral. Mom, how could you do that? Because I believed in our family, she said, tears forming in her eyes. I believed that when one of us succeeded, we all succeeded. I never imagined my own son would abandon his family when we needed him most. Danny crossed his arms smugly. So there it is, Reid. Pay for my house and Mom's debts, or watch your family lose everything. Your choice. And if I don't? Danny's smile was cold. Then everyone in town learns what kind of man Reid Thompson really is. Your clients, your neighbors, everyone. We'll make sure they understand that you had the power to save your family and chose money instead. Patricia nodded sadly. I don't want to see our family destroyed, Reid, but if you force us into desperate situations, we'll have to do whatever it takes to survive. I stared at the two people who had raised me, who had shaped my understanding of love and loyalty and family obligation. They were threatening to destroy my reputation, my business, and my relationships unless I handed over my life savings. The worst part was that some twisted part of me still loved them. Despite their manipulation, their deception, their threats, they were still my family. The guilt and obligation they were exploiting were real emotions, born from years of genuine sacrifice and care. But I finally understood that their love came with conditions. Their acceptance required my submission. Their version of family meant my independence didn't matter. As I looked at Patricia's tearful face and Danny's smug expression, I realized this moment would define the rest of our relationships. Either I would surrender my autonomy to maintain peace, or I would fight back and accept the consequences. The choice was mine, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I knew exactly what I had to do. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my childhood bedroom researching family financial law, business protection strategies, and legal rights regarding extortion and fraud. By dawn, I had made several crucial decisions that would change everything. My first call was to Benjamin Torres, a lawyer who specialized in family financial disputes. His office was in downtown Springfield, and he agreed to see me that afternoon on an emergency basis. "Mr. Thompson, what you're describing constitutes financial elder abuse in reverse, along with potential fraud and extortion," Benjamin said after I explained the situation. "The fact that your brother scheduled a house closing using your name as financing could be prosecuted as fraud. I don't want to send my family to jail," I said. "I just want to protect myself." "Protection sometimes requires legal boundaries," Benjamin replied. "We can file for restraining orders that prevent them from using your name for financial transactions. We can also document the threats to your business for potential criminal charges later." "What about the forged financial documents my mother signed?" "Those constitute identity theft and fraud. If you want to pursue criminal charges, we have grounds. If you prefer civil remedies, we can focus on asset protection and clear legal boundaries." Benjamin recommended a private investigator to document the full scope of their activities. "If they've been this organized, there may be additional schemes you haven't discovered yet." That afternoon, I met with Maria Santos, a private investigator who specialized in family financial crimes. She was professional, discreet, and surprisingly sympathetic to my situation. "Family financial abuse is more common than people realize," Maria explained. "Successful individuals often become targets for relatives who feel entitled to share in that success. The psychological manipulation can be devastating. I feel like I'm betraying them by investigating my own family." "Mr. Thompson, they betrayed you first. You're protecting yourself from people who have demonstrated they're willing to destroy your life to get your money." Maria agreed to conduct a comprehensive investigation into Patricia and Danny's activities, including their communications, financial arrangements, and any other schemes they might be planning. "I'll need access to any computers, phones, or documents you can legally provide," Maria said. "I'll also investigate the loan arrangements your mother mentioned and identify exactly who she owes money to." Over the next 3 days, Maria's investigation revealed disturbing information that went far beyond what I had discovered in Patricia's computer files. She called me with the first shocking revelation. "Reid, I've been tracking the communications between your mother and your estranged father. He's been in regular contact with her for over 2 years, not just recently." 2 years? According to their email records, he reached out initially when your business started gaining recognition. He's been providing advice on how to access your money and suggesting ways to manipulate your family loyalty. The betrayal cut deeper than I had imagined. While I had been working to build my life and business, my father had been coaching my mother on how to exploit my success. "There's more," Maria continued. "Your father has a criminal background you should know about. He's been involved in investment fraud schemes in 3 different states. He's currently under investigation for elder financial abuse in Arizona. My father wasn't just an absent parent seeking reconciliation. He was a career criminal who specialized in exactly the kind of family financial manipulation Patricia and Danny were using against me. Your mother has been sending him money regularly, using credit card advances. That's likely part of her debt crisis. She's been financing his lifestyle while planning to use your money to cover her losses." The next revelation was even worse. "Reid, your brother hasn't just quit his job. He's been telling people around town that he's come into money through his family. He's been making purchases on credit, promising future payment when his inheritance comes through." "What kind of purchases?" "A new truck, furniture for the house he hasn't bought yet, even engagement ring payments for his girlfriend Ashley. He owes local businesses over $15,000, all based on promises that his brother is giving him money." Danny had not only committed fraud with the house purchase, he had created financial obligations throughout our community based on lies about my supporting him. The most concerning discovery is about your mother's loan situation, Maria said during our final meeting. She didn't borrow from legitimate financial institutions. She borrowed from Vincent Russo, who operates private lending with extremely high interest rates. Vincent Russo was a name I recognized from local news reports. He was suspected of loan sharking but had never been successfully prosecuted. Patricia had borrowed money from someone dangerous. How much does she owe him? $68,000, with interest accumulating at 25% monthly. If she misses another payment, the terms become much more aggressive. The pieces fell into place with horrifying clarity. Patricia hadn't just gambled on my willingness to help family. She had borrowed money from a criminal, used my anticipated contribution as collateral, and created a situation where my refusal to pay could result in physical danger for our entire family. Mr. Thompson, this isn't just about family manipulation anymore. Your mother has created a genuine safety issue. People like Vincent Russo don't accept excuses about family disagreements. Maria's investigation also uncovered the systematic campaign to damage my business reputation. Patricia had been contacting my clients, not directly, but through mutual acquaintances who could raise concerns without being directly traceable to her. She's been very clever about it, Maria explained. She contacts people who know both you and your clients, mentions her concerns about your focus and stability, and lets them draw their own conclusions about whether to share that information. The business sabotage wasn't random revenge. It was strategic pressure designed to make me financially vulnerable and more likely to cooperate with their demands. There's one more thing you need to know, Maria said, handing me a thick folder of documents. Your mother and brother have been researching legal ways to claim portions of your assets. They've consulted with 3 different lawyers about family financial obligations, inheritance, advance claims, and partnership opportunities. Patricia and Danny hadn't just been planning to ask for money. They had been researching ways to take it legally, using family relationships and business partnerships as leverage. As I sat in my car outside Maria's office, reviewing the evidence of my family's betrayal, I realized I was no longer dealing with misguided relatives who had gotten carried away with greed. I was dealing with people who had systematically planned to defraud me, involving criminals and legal manipulation to achieve their goals. The psychological manipulation had been just the beginning. They had created financial obligations, legal entanglements, and safety risks that would persist even if I gave them everything they wanted. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something other than guilt and confusion. I felt anger, pure, focused anger at people who had exploited my love for them to systematically destroy my independence and security. But anger was useful. It clarified my thinking and strengthened my resolve. If they wanted to treat this like a war, I would give them a war, but I would fight it on my terms, with legal protections and documented evidence. The time for being a victim was over. I spent 2 days preparing for what I knew would be the most difficult conversation of my life. With Benjamin Torres' guidance, I had filed restraining orders, preventing Patricia and Danny from using my name for any financial transactions. I had moved my money to protected accounts at a different bank. I had changed every password and security question on every account I owned. Most importantly, I had a plan that would force them to confront the full consequences of their actions. On Saturday morning, I called a family meeting. I told Patricia and Danny we needed to discuss the house closing scheduled for Monday and figure out how to move forward together. They arrived at the house, relaxed and confident, clearly believing they had successfully cornered me into compliance. Danny brought Ashley, his girlfriend, who seemed excited about their upcoming house purchase. Patricia invited Aunt Susan and Uncle Mark, apparently believing additional family pressure would help finalize my cooperation. They had no idea what was coming. Before we talk about the house or any other financial arrangements, I began, I need everyone to see something. I opened my laptop and began displaying the evidence Maria Santos had gathered. Emails between Patricia and Robert, our estranged father, discussing strategies for accessing my money. Documentation of Danny's fraudulent use of my name for the house purchase. Records of Patricia's consultations with lawyers about claiming my assets. Reid, honey, I can explain, Patricia started, but I held up my hand. Actually, Mom, let me explain first. Because there are things about this situation that everyone in this room needs to understand. I displayed the loan documents from Vincent Russo, watching Patricia's face drain of color as the dangerous reality of her financial situation became public knowledge. Patricia borrowed $68,000 from a known criminal, using my anticipated contribution as collateral. She's been paying him with credit card advances, which is why her debt has spiraled out of control. Uncle Mark shifted uncomfortably. Aunt Susan looked shocked. Ashley stared at Danny with growing horror. Danny has been making purchases throughout town, promising payment when his inheritance comes through. He owes local businesses over $15,000 based on lies about me giving him money. Reid, that's not how it is, Danny protested, but his voice lacked conviction. This is exactly how it is, I continued, displaying more evidence. Our father, who abandoned this family 15 years ago, has been secretly advising Mom on how to manipulate me. He's a career criminal who specializes in family financial fraud. I pulled out the criminal background report Maria had compiled on Robert. Multiple states, multiple fraud convictions, active investigations for elder abuse. Dad wants back into our lives now that there's money involved, and he's been coaching Mom on psychological manipulation techniques. Patricia finally found her voice. Reid, please stop this. We're family. We can work this out. We are family, I agreed. But family doesn't systematically plan to defraud each other. I pulled out the most damaging evidence. Recorded phone calls I had made over the past week, using software that was legal in our state for recording conversations when one party consented. These are recordings of threats made against my business and personal reputation. Danny threatening to contact my clients. Mom threatening to expose private information about my personal relationships. The room fell silent as they heard their own voices making extortion threats. Ashley, I said, turning to Danny's girlfriend, did you know that Danny quit his job because he expected me to support him permanently? Did you know the engagement ring he bought you was purchased on credit based on lies about his financial situation? Ashley's face crumpled as she realized the extent of Danny's deception. Aunt Susan, Uncle Mark, did you know that Patricia has been coaching extended family members on how to pressure me for money? There are written notes about psychological manipulation strategies for each family member. I displayed Patricia's conversation strategies document, showing how she had assigned roles to different relatives. Uncle Mark stood up slowly, his expression dark. Patricia, is this true? It's not what it looks like, she said weakly. It's exactly what it looks like, I continued. And here's what everyone needs to understand about the consequences. I handed legal documents to Patricia and Danny. These are restraining orders preventing either of you from using my name for any financial transactions. What Danny did with the house purchase constitutes fraud, and I've filed a police report. Danny's face went white. Reid, you called the cops on your own brother? I protected myself from someone who was committing fraud using my identity. Whether that person is my brother is irrelevant. I turned to Patricia with the most difficult part of my presentation. Mom, Vincent Russo called me yesterday. The room went dead silent. He knows you used my money as collateral for your loan. He's expecting payment next week, and he's not interested in family drama or payment plans. Patricia started crying, finally understanding the dangerous situation she had created. But here's the thing, I said, pulling out another set of documents. I've already solved the Vincent Russo problem. Everyone stared at me in confusion. I bought this house from the bank yesterday. Our childhood home was already in pre-foreclosure due to Mom's debts. I purchased it directly, which means Vincent Russo no longer has any claim on this property. Patricia's mouth fell open. You bought the house? I bought the house, which means I'm now the owner, and I'm giving both of you 30 days to find alternative living arrangements. The room erupted in shocked voices, but I wasn't finished. Patricia, you have a choice. You can enter financial counseling and gambling addiction treatment, or I will pursue full prosecution for the fraud and identity theft. The evidence is documented, and the district attorney is very interested in family financial crimes. Reid, you can't be serious, Danny said. Danny, you also have a choice. You can find a job, pay back the local businesses you've defrauded, and rebuild your life honestly. Or you can face criminal charges for the fraudulent house purchase and the threats against my business. I pulled out my phone and played a recording of Danny's voice, threatening to destroy my professional reputation. This constitutes criminal extortion, and I have multiple witnesses who heard you make similar threats. Ashley stood up suddenly. Danny, is all of this true? Did you really quit your job? Did you really put us both in debt for a house you knew you couldn't afford? Danny couldn't look at her. Ashley, I can explain. No, she said firmly, pulling off the engagement ring he had bought with borrowed money. You can't explain this. You lied to me about everything. She handed me the ring. Make sure this gets back to whatever jewelry store he owes money to. As Ashley left, the room felt smaller and more tense. Uncle Mark looked disgusted. Patricia, I can't believe you involved the whole family in this scheme. Aunt Susan was staring at the documents about her assigned role in the manipulation campaign. You wrote down strategies for how I should pressure Reid? You turned me into part of some con game? It wasn't a con game, Patricia protested. It was about family helping family. It was about exploiting family relationships to steal money, I corrected. But here's what's going to happen now. I pulled out one final document. This is a family financial assistance fund I've established. It contains $50,000. It will be managed by a neutral third party, and it can be used for genuine family emergencies. Everyone looked confused. The fund has rules. No individual can access more than $5,000 in any 12-month period. All requests must be reviewed by an independent financial counselor, and anyone who attempts to manipulate, threaten, or defraud family members is permanently excluded from access. I looked directly at Patricia and Danny. This fund exists because I still love this family. But it exists on my terms, with professional oversight and clear boundaries. Patricia was crying openly now. Reid, please don't kick us out of our home. This was never your home, Mom. You lost it to debt and poor financial decisions. I saved it because I care about this family's history. But I won't enable the behavior that put it at risk in the first place. Danny finally exploded. So that's it? You destroy our family because you're too selfish to help people who love you? I didn't destroy this family, Danny. You destroyed it when you decided my success belonged to you. You destroyed it when you chose manipulation over honest conversation. You destroyed it when you made financial commitments using my name without my permission. I stood up, indicating the meeting was over. You both have 30 days to find new living arrangements. Patricia, you have a week to begin financial counseling, or I proceed with criminal charges. Danny, you have 2 weeks to find employment, or I proceed with fraud charges. And if we comply with your ultimatums, Patricia asked, then we rebuild our family relationships based on honesty, respect, and appropriate boundaries. The fund I've established will be available for genuine emergencies, but the days of emotional manipulation and financial exploitation are over forever. As everyone filed out of the house that I now owned, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks: peace. For the first time since Patricia had opened my bank statement, I was in control of my own life again. The hardest part was over. Now came the equally difficult task of rebuilding relationships with people who had betrayed my trust but whom I still loved, despite everything they had done. 6 months later, I stood in the kitchen of my childhood home, now legally mine, preparing coffee for a conversation I had never expected to have. The morning sunlight streamed through windows I had replaced, illuminating the updated countertops and fresh paint that marked my investment in preserving family history while establishing new boundaries. Patricia knocked on the door at exactly 10 o'clock, as we had arranged. She looked different than she had during our confrontation, healthier, more alert. The constant stress that had marked her features for years had been replaced by something resembling peace. "Good morning, Reid," she said, accepting the coffee cup I offered. "Thank you for making time to see me. How are you doing, Mom?" She settled into the breakfast nook, where we had shared countless meals during my childhood. Better than I have in years, actually. The financial counseling has been harder than I expected, but more helpful than I imagined. Patricia had entered the financial counseling program I had required, and the transformation had been remarkable. The woman who had once schemed to access my money was now managing her department store wages with careful budgeting and systematic debt reduction. "I want you to know that I understand now what I did to you," she continued. "The counselor helped me see that I wasn't just asking for help. I was trying to control your success, to make it serve my needs instead of respecting what you had built." The admission meant more to me than I had expected. "Mom, I know you were desperate. I understand why my bank balance looked like a solution to problems you'd been carrying for years. Desperation doesn't excuse deception," she said firmly. "I involved your brother, manipulated your extended family, and put you in an impossible position. What I did was wrong, regardless of my motivations." Patricia had moved into a modest one-bedroom apartment across town, within walking distance of her full-time position at the department store. She had also started working part-time at a local financial literacy nonprofit, teaching other people the budgeting skills she was learning herself. "The work with the nonprofit has been eye-opening," she said. "Helping other families understand financial boundaries has helped me understand what I violated in our relationship." Danny's journey had been more difficult but equally transformative. After Ashley left him and the reality of his debt became clear, he had experienced what his employment counselor called a productive crisis. "How is Danny doing?" I asked. "He's doing well, actually. Better than well. He got hired full-time at Morrison Construction, and he's been working overtime to pay back the local businesses. Mark helped him get the job, which was good for both of them." Uncle Mark had been devastated to learn about his role in the manipulation campaign, and helping Danny find honest work had been his way of making amends. The construction job provided Danny with structure, physical challenge, and the satisfaction of building something tangible. "He's been saving money for his own place," Patricia continued. "Not because anyone is making him, but because he wants to prove to himself that he can be independent." Danny had also attended financial counseling, focusing on the psychology of entitlement and the difference between family support and family exploitation. The process had been humbling, but ultimately liberating. "I think losing Ashley was the best thing that could have happened to him," Patricia said. "It forced him to confront what he had become and decide what kind of man he wanted to be. My business had not only recovered but had grown substantially. The crisis with my family had taught me valuable lessons about protecting my professional relationships and maintaining appropriate boundaries between personal and business matters." "Reid, I need to tell you about your father," Patricia said, her voice becoming serious. "Robert had been arrested in Arizona for elder financial abuse, and his connection to our family situation had been investigated by federal authorities. Patricia's cooperation with investigators had helped establish a pattern of his criminal behavior across multiple states. I've cut all contact with him," she said. "The counselor helped me understand that he was exploiting my love for you boys, using my protective instincts to manipulate our family situation. Are you angry at him?" "I'm angry at myself for being so desperate for help that I let him back into our lives. But I'm grateful that his arrest means he can't hurt other families the way he hurt ours." The Family Financial Assistance Fund I had established had been used twice. Once when Aunt Susan's husband had emergency surgery, and once when Danny needed money for work boots and tools for his construction job. Both requests had been reviewed by the independent financial counselor, approved quickly, and repaid ahead of schedule. "The fund has been good for all of us," Patricia said. "It provides security without enabling poor decisions. And having neutral oversight means family members can't pressure each other the way I pressured you." Aunt Susan and Uncle Mark had both written me letters of apology, acknowledging their participation in the manipulation campaign. We had slowly rebuilt our relationships based on honest communication about expectations and boundaries. "There's something else I want you to know," Patricia said, reaching into her purse. "I've been seeing someone." She pulled out a photo of herself with a man I didn't recognize. He looked kind, with the weathered hands of someone who worked with tools, and the easy smile of someone comfortable with himself. "His name is William, and he works at the nonprofit where I volunteer. He's a widower with 3 grown children, and he understands what it means to rebuild your life after making serious mistakes. The relationship had developed slowly, built on shared commitment to financial responsibility and personal growth. William had his own money, his own home, and his own independence. Neither of them needed rescuing, which made their connection authentic rather than desperate. "He knows everything about what happened between us," Patricia continued. "About the manipulation, the deception, the legal consequences. And he's proud of you for protecting yourself and holding me accountable." That afternoon, Danny stopped by the house after finishing his construction shift. He looked like a different person than the entitled young man who had quit his job, expecting to be supported permanently. His hands were calloused, his shoulders broader, his expression more mature. "Hey, Reid. Thanks for letting me come by. How's the job going?" "I love it, actually. Never thought I'd say that about work, but building things feels good. Making something with your hands that lasts, you know?" Danny had moved into a small apartment he could afford on his construction wages. He had furnished it gradually with pieces he bought himself, taking pride in every purchase because it represented his own effort. "I wanted to show you something," he said, pulling out his bank statement. "6 months ago, I was in debt with nothing to my name. This month, I had money left over after paying all my bills." The statement showed careful budgeting, regular savings deposits, and no unnecessary spending. It represented everything I had tried to teach him about financial responsibility, but he had learned it through experience rather than lectures. "I'm proud of you, Danny." "I'm proud of me too," he said with a grin. "And I'm sorry it took almost destroying our family for me to grow up." Danny had also started dating again, but this time with honesty about his financial situation and his goals. The woman he was seeing, Maria from his financial counseling group, appreciated his commitment to personal growth and his honest approach to building a stable life. "I want you to know that I understand now why you couldn't just give me money," Danny continued. "It wouldn't have helped me become who I needed to become. I had to learn how to earn things for myself." As evening approached, I found myself alone in the house that had witnessed so much family drama, but was now peaceful again. The same rooms that had hosted manipulation and threats now felt safe and calm. My phone rang with a call from Benjamin Torres, my lawyer. "Reid, I wanted to give you an update on the Vincent Russo investigation. His operation has been shut down, and multiple families have come forward with similar stories to yours. Your mother's cooperation was crucial in building the case against him. Patricia's willingness to testify about her dealings with the loan shark had helped law enforcement protect other vulnerable families from similar exploitation. Her mistakes had been transformed into a contribution to community safety. That night, I reflected on the lessons this experience had taught me about family, money, and the complex relationship between love and manipulation. I had learned that setting boundaries with people you love is not betrayal but protection. I had learned that enabling poor behavior is not kindness but cruelty. Most importantly, I had learned that true family relationships can survive the establishment of healthy limits. The money in my bank account still represented 5 years of hard work and careful planning, but now it also represented something else. The security that comes from knowing I could protect what I had built, even from people I loved who wanted to take it from me. My success belonged to me, and my family's love was no longer conditional on sharing that success inappropriately. The family I had rebuilt was smaller than before, but stronger, based on respect rather than exploitation, boundaries rather than unlimited obligation. Patricia and I finished our coffee in comfortable conversation about ordinary things. Her work, my latest business projects, neighborhood changes, simple pleasures that didn't involve money or complex family dynamics. As she prepared to leave, Patricia hugged me goodbye with genuine affection. "I love you, Reid. And I'm grateful every day that you were strong enough to save us from ourselves." "I love you too, Mom. And I'm grateful that we found our way back to each other." After she left, I sat in my kitchen thinking about the question I wanted to share with others who might be facing similar challenges. When someone you love demands that you sacrifice your financial security for their immediate wants, how do you distinguish between genuine family support and emotional manipulation? The answer I had learned through painful experience was this: genuine family support celebrates your success and helps you protect it, while manipulation demands that your success serve everyone except you. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your own experiences with family financial dynamics. Have you ever had to set boundaries with relatives who felt entitled to your money? How did you handle the guilt and pressure that comes with protecting your financial independence from people you love? Please like this story if it helped you understand your own situation. Subscribe for more stories about navigating complex family relationships. Share it with anyone who might be dealing with similar challenges. And comment below with your thoughts about the balance between family loyalty and personal financial security. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you find the strength to protect what you've worked hard to build while maintaining the relationships that matter most to you. Sometimes the greatest act of love for your family is teaching them to respect the boundaries that keep everyone safe and healthy. Remember, your success is not a family emergency fund, and your love is not measured by your willingness to be financially exploited. True family relationships can survive the establishment of healthy limits, and often they become stronger because of them.